line. As promised, pleased to be joined by the Hall of Famer Jim Boeheim on. What is it's a big day. It's a sad day. I mean, obviously, fans want to see, assistants move on and become head coaches, but, Jerry's meant so much to this program for so long. And Coach, we bring you in, and I mean, what are your thoughts about, Jerry McNamara, moving on and being able to realize his dream, being a head coach?
Well, my thoughts are the same as yours should be and the fans should be. Grateful that we had him and happy that he's going to be a head coach, because that's what his goal is, and every assistant coach's goal is to become a head coach. So anybody that's not happy for him isn't a Syracuse fan. That's all.
Sure.
What did you see in Jerry that made you think that he was going to be a good coach?
He understood the game right from the beginning. His competitiveness is unmatched in our program's history. He's as competitive or more competitive than anybody we've ever had. And he loves coaching. He loves teaching. He's a great developer of talent. Guards he's worked with have really developed. He sees the game. He understands the different types of defenses you can use. He really has a good feel for the whole game, the whole picture, and that's what makes a good head coach. Adrian Autry had the same type of feeling for the game and understanding of the game, and that's what made him a great head coach this year. Is he did an unbelievable job in coaching the team this year. They won 4 or 5 games, probably more than they should have. They had a tremendous result. And, I'm confident that the Syracuse program is in a really good position. Jerry's a loss, but they'll find somebody and, to come in and do the job. But they have good players. They have good recruits. I'm confident that they'll get a couple guys in the transfer portal. And, one thing about the transfer issues when guys leave, I hear this all the time when I'm listening to radio. Well, why did that guy leave? Why did that guy leave? Everybody has their own reasons. And sometimes it's nothing to do with basketball. Sometimes it's just there's something there that it's not a good fit, and the player has to leave. Either he has to leave or he wants to leave, one or the other. And that happens. That's when you open the transfer portal. And the NIL is important, but that's the case of some guys moving in some situations. But some guys, it's just not a good fit for whatever reason, and they need to move. And this has always been the case. Before, a guy that was on the edge and wasn't sure would never transfer because he didn't want to sit out. Now that you don't have to sit out, if you're just a little bit on the edge, you might leave. So it's a different world, and you have to adjust to it. Every good team has transfer portal guys. North Carolina, 2 of their starters, transfer portal. Alabama, 2 or 3. Look at all these teams. They all have key players, and some of them have 3 or 4 transfer portal guys. I think NC State's still playing. I think probably almost their whole lineup is transfer portal guys, everybody. So it's just the nature of the game, and, you have to make sure you go into the transfer portal, get guys out of there that can help your team next year. And I'm confident that Adrian will do that. I mean, Jerry going down to Siena, they lose almost everybody. I think he probably has to bring in about 8 players. So that's just the nature of college basketball. You start new every year with a kind of new team. I think we're fortunate at Syracuse that we'll have a bunch of guys back that have played.
Coach, if you were still coaching and a guy leaves, what do you do to help them when they're leaving? Like a guy like Justin Taylor did everything that, the Syracuse coaches wanted from him. What would you tell a guy like that to do? Would you tell you and North Carolina were originally recruiting him? Would you tell him hey, maybe you need to take a step back and go down? Or would you say, hey, go try and work your way up in a bigger school?
That's up to the player. Every player has to make that decision of what's best for him. I love Justin Taylor. He just, really didn't develop the way I thought he would. I thought he'd become a really good shooter in college. He just it didn't happen, and it takes him probably longer than we ever thought to get his shot off, so that's hurt him. I think he can play. He's got to find the right place. And I would talk to people. I have talked to other coaches about Justin Taylor since he decided to leave. But, he'll find a place that I hope that works for him. And he's a great kid. He really played hard this year. He did some really good things. It didn't always show in the scoreboard, but he played a lot of minutes. He did a lot of good things, and he helped them. He helped them win games. And, Quadir Copeland helped them win games. I think, sometimes, it's just, for whatever reason, there's multiple reasons why guys leave. It doesn't work out. And in today's world, guys are going to go try to find some place where they can, play. And sometimes it works out. A lot of the times it doesn't work out. But it's the game today. But I love Justin Taylor. I hope he finds a good spot.
One of the guys that it certainly worked out for is Joe Girard. I heard a recent interview. I think it was after his senior night, and your name came up, and he talked at length about his relationship with you, and that he said, "I'm going to listen to Coach Boeheim on 99% of things until the day I die." And he was very, had a lot of really nice things to say. Very thankful for his time with you. What was it about Clemson? And he said that you guys talked about Clemson in particular.
Yeah.
What was it about Clemson that you thought would be a good fit for him?
Well, they needed a shooter. They haven't had a shooter last year and the year before. They didn't get in the tournament because they didn't have somebody. They had a good point guard, Chase Hunter. They had the big guy inside. Shefflin is a really good forward. They had nobody at the two. So the only concern I had with Joe going to Clemson was you got to be ready to play defense. That's what they do. And his defense has gotten better. It still struggles from time to time, but it's gotten better. But it was a perfect fit for him, and I knew they had a chance. I knew they could be a tournament team without any question with those other guys back. And Joe's been just really solid. He's really helped them, and they have a nice team. They can beat anybody. They really can. They got a nice balance. And sometimes you transfer and you find exactly the right fit, and that was the right fit, and I'm glad that it's worked for him. And he played well for us all 3 years. I thought he did some really, really good there, all four. He played really good basketball. He was never appreciated as much as he should have been. And all these people, even last year and the year before, saying, well, he can't play anywhere. He's on a team that's in the Elite Eight, and he's a big part of it. And it's just those fans that don't have a clue. And, that's why as a coach, you don't ever listen to those people because they literally have no clue about what they're talking about. And it's unfortunate that they get a voice in today's world on the radio or wherever it is. It's part of the problems in the world.
Coach, here we are in March again, and the ACC, is UNC lost last night, but great tournament resume. A team that wasn't even supposed to make the tournament is now in the Sweet 16 out of the ACC. What can they do to make this not a problem next year, getting more than 4 or 5 teams in?
It'll be a problem next year, too, because the metrics favor teams that play bad schedules. They beat up on bad teams. They get into a league like the Mountain West. There's 6 teams in there. Their nets are about 20 to 30 when they get done with their non-conference, and they play each other. So now they have all, quad 1 wins. So that's what they get in the tournament with. But the quad 1 wins they get are against each other. We get a quad 1 win, it's against North Carolina. It's at Pittsburgh or at NC State. Those are hard quad 1 wins. The ones they get, no, they're not. But they get in the tournament. They do that in the Big 12 too. But every year the ACC wins more games, goes further, has more Sweet 16 teams, more championships in the last 15, 20 years than any conference, and we get fewer teams in each year because the net is what they're going by instead of good teams. Pittsburgh should have been in. Wake Forest should have been in. That would have given us 7 teams this year. That's about where we should have been. the Big East should have had Seton Hall, should have had probably St. John's for sure. And, Indiana State probably should have been in. So there's 5 teams. What happened, and I don't think anybody gets this, you realize those teams that I mentioned all would have probably been in the tournament, except there was 5 bid sealers. 5 teams won their conference that shouldn't have. So when people talk about expansion, they don't want to dilute it. Well, those 5 teams this year were in the tournament. They were in until the bid sealers came along. So they obviously were good enough. So people against expansion make no sense because when you have those bid sealers, at least you'll get the teams in. If it's 4 or 8, whatever the expansion is, you just do what you do in Dayton. You go someplace else and you bring 8 teams there and play them. Now you're still in 64, and people that are against that don't understand anything about basketball. We already have a play-in, and it works. Those teams progress from that play-in like we did. Like VCU did. So it's a good thing. And you can do it just like you do it right now. And one of the obstacles is that the committees, you're not going to get any more money because the contract's till 1932 or 2032. So what? You're getting $1 billion. You don't need to get more money. Just get those teams in the tournament. You'll get deserving teams in the tournament. You don't change anything. Back when it was 24 teams in the tournament, you won't remember this. Probably, I don't think you were around. I was. Coach Wooden said, no, we shouldn't expand this. We don't want to dilute the tournament. He was pretty good. He knew what he was doing. Well, I don't think the expansion to 48 hurt, 36 and 48, 32, then 48. That's whatever, then 64, then 60. Has the tournament been hurt with any of these expansions?
No.
Not one bit. Another expansion gets 8 more groups of players in, 8 coaches in, 8 fan bases in the tournament. How is that a bad thing?
Right. It's not. I would take it in a second. I thought they should expand more than that, but
well, they should, but they won't. They don't even want to do this. So let's just get a small expansion. You really could do it simply, like you have Dayton. You could have 2 or 3 of those sites and get 8 teams at each site, and you could do it where the tournament's going to be. That way, the winners wouldn't even have to move anywhere; they'd be in the same city where the tournament is.
Yeah.
If the first round was in Philly, you play it in where the building is, or if the building's being used, you play it in the Palestra.
I mean, that's what they just did with the women, right? Yeah. The SU women, the 2 11 seeds played in stores, and then they played Syracuse, 2 days later. So
yeah. I mean, it's so easy to do, and it's unfortunate the women have to keep doing this for money.
Right.
That it should be neutral sites. I mean, we realized that a long time ago in men's basketball. I mean, at some point you got to forget about the money. You just got to do what's fair. If Syracuse had played Connecticut on a neutral site the other night,
they win.
They might win.
Yeah.
And that's sad to me. You're playing the most important thing in your life for a basketball player, the NCAA tournament, and you got to go to somebody's home court. I mean, I love Caitlin Clark. I'm even going to go see her tomorrow. But if West Virginia wasn't playing in Iowa, they win that game. Yeah. I think. It's just sad that we have to do this stuff for money now. Well, we ought to know about that. Football's all about money, and that's all they think about.
Coach,
how much money they can make.
I got one last one for you. The things that cause controversy on talk radio are strange. And with Jerry leaving, the question is, Syracuse needs to go outside the family in order to hire the next coach. What would you do with this? I don't know. That's my question. Why did you hire former players, and why would you not hire someone?
Well, you hired the best guy. That's who you hired. You hired, like this year, Adrian went outside because he felt he had to have somebody to recruit in Washington. So he hired Brendan. So, I mean, that was his move, and I think that was a good move. He got somebody who knows the area that we're recruiting in. They got the best player from that area, by the way, this year. Right. So that you do that, but it could be somebody from within the family that's really good. You could hire that. I mean, and then they say, well, you have to hire a big man coach. Well, we've developed big men over the years A lot of them, Arinze, going when Mike Hopkins was the guy working with him. He's a guard. We developed Jesse into a really good player. Alan Griffin worked with him. We developed Fab Mel. We developed a lot of centers. You don't have to be a center to coach a center. It's like, it's not the way it is. You just have to know how to coach. But, they need to get the best coach they can, who's obviously got recruiting some good recruiting area. And then, somebody that understands basketball. It could be a Syracuse guy. It might not be. I never hired somebody just because they were Syracuse. I hired Troy Weaver because I thought he was the best guy available. He got Carmelo Anthony, But lately, in the last few years, I felt that our guys were really good, and that's why I hired Syracuse guys. But you hire the best people. And again, talk radio is good for, I don't know. Not sure what.
My paycheck.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's good for Paulie. Paulie gets a paycheck.
Yeah.
But, you have to understand that things that people come up with are, talk radio. I mean, this guy, I remember when it was Jalen Carey should start at guard. He said, no question about it. And, he's a nice kid. He didn't play anywhere. I mean, it's just whoever's not playing should be playing.
Yeah. It's the backup quarterback syndrome, playing, right? Yeah.
Whoever is playing shouldn't be playing. That's it. But, the thing we have is we have not those people, but we have a lot of fans. I've found in retirement, going around town and around the area, how many fans, just a couple here, who season ticket holders, Coach, we're so grateful for all these years. And, I mean, that makes you feel good because once in a while that radio call sneaks in my mind, like, oh, you're terrible, you didn't win, you didn't get this guy, and sometimes you start thinking about that stuff, but it's not what most people think. Most people are really happy that we've had the program we've had, and it can always be better. You wish you could always do better, but I love Syracuse sports, and when it's good, lacrosse now is such an exciting time. And our football coach, I think he's going to be a great coach. I think he's not just a great recruiter, which he is obviously, but I think he's going to be a really good football coach. And I think we're going to I'm going to predict right here out on a limb, we're going to have a great football season. Just like I predicted there'd be 4 teams of the ACC make it to the Sweet 16. In spite of Joe Lunardi saying there shouldn't even be 3 in his thing was 3 in the tournament.
That's right.
And then we had 4 in the Sweet 16, and could have had 2 moving on last night. Carolina, R.J. Davis played the worst game of his whole college career, or they win that game by 10 points. And it's too bad because they had a legit shot at the national championship this year. So but we'll see what happens. I'm excited for Jerry. He'll do a great job. He understands that what has to be done. And at some point in time, and I reached this point in time when I decided to go to Rochester, I was not going to come back as an assistant coach. I'd had it. I had all the experience I wanted. You want to be a head coach, period. And I would have taken Rochester, which was Division III, with the promise they were going to go Division I, which they never did. But luckily for me, Syracuse opened in a week and things changed. But you get to a point and you feel like, okay, I've got to be a head. It's like when Mike Hopkins, he knew he could be the Syracuse coach in 1 year. He just wanted to get the job right then, and he really wanted to go to the West Coast. And in spite of what people will once in a while say on the radio, I had nothing to do with it. And in fact, I didn't even know about it until after he signed the contract to go to Washington. And, but that's just stuff that happens. And Jerry is, he's 100% ready to coach. And you can't be an assistant when you get into your mind, into your head, that I need to be a head coach. I want my program. And that's where he is, and it's a great opportunity for people who have coached at Siena that I know of and have gone on to be high Division I coaches. So it's a good place to start.
Great place to start. And go ahead, Paul.
I was just going to say your two in-house hires are now head coaches. So
That's
you
right.
did pretty good.
That's right.
Well, I hired Louis Orr too. He was in-house, and he became a head coach. And I hired, so Syracuse guys have done pretty well, I think, overall over the years. And we'll get Adrian will get a really good coach in there. And the fortunate thing for Adrian is he's very involved in recruiting, because that's what he does. It's very similar to Fran Brown. Even though Fran Brown's a head coach, every time I'm with him, he's on the phone with a recruit. If he's sitting in my office or we're walking down the hall, the phone rings, it's a recruit for Fran Brown. So, they know what they have to do. They understand the game and what you have to do in terms of recruiting. So they'll get players, and I think they'll be good next year. This year's schedule was really too hard in the beginning, and they had lose 3 centers. They lose Benny. They lose Chance Westry. They play with 6 sophomores, basically, and they win 21 games. People should be rejoicing in Syracuse for the kind of year they had, and I think it'll only get better.
Well said, Coach, as always. Appreciate you coming on. Enjoy the weekend, and hopefully we'll talk again soon, Coach.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, we appreciate it. Jim Boeheim, the Hall of Famer, joining us here on the show. And
that's a record.
With that,
that is a record.
In terms of the length of the interview?
21 minutes.
Yes.
Andy didn't hang up on me.
That's right. Even better. But you didn't ask him to hang out. Maybe that would have changed it.
No, he was rolling too good. I wasn't going to stop him.
All right.